Hello, Anna, the Wild Oracle here, coming to you live from the river here in Costa Rica, where I do my morning rituals, where I play and pray and learn so deeply how to be human on planet Earth in 2022. Whew, it's a journey! And what I will say that I'm learning is how to be like the river, in that I don't restrict my flow, and I trust that the flow of the river is what actually carves out the banks, and that when our wildness, our power, our softness, whatever is moving through us is clear enough and firm and flowing enough, then the banks form with ease, and that we don't necessarily have to be too precise and specific and okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. There's an element of trust that I feel myself being invited into with the bigness of the power that lives within me, that lives within each of us, that is source, that is the God, goddess I am that we're all interconnected to. This trust in this energy that our vessels are made to allow this energy to move through us. Our vessels are made for radical aliveness, and that we've grown up in cultures that shut that down, and it can be quite scary to allow that energy through us because it is wild and it is it can't be contained, and it will break through all the mental patterning. It will break through all the boxes and identities that we've had, and can feel ungrounding. And so I'm in the deep learning myself of how to allow this pulse of wildness to move me, to trust her. And I'm learning so much from this river about just how she flows, how she flows, how she flows. I'm always learning from water because I have no planets in water in my astrological chart. I'm fire, air, fire, air, fire, air, and then some earth. But there's no planets in water, and so I've been in and continue to be in this lifelong learning and relationship with water. How do I move like her? How profound that she will take the shape of anything that she's put into, and yet has the power to carve out shapes, right? Like this river that is here wasn't always here. Like she carved it out. But she's also so fluid and tender and is moving around the rocks with so much ease. And so when I look at myself and these patterns of shutting down my truth and of this whole autoimmune disorder of the thyroid and just like shutting everything in and getting into my mind thinking, okay, this is how I'm going to organize my truth, like all these specific ways, and then still feeling restricted in my expression. And so there's something here about like moving the energy and just letting it flow through me in a way that doesn't require a container. And that is a very interesting concept to me, because as I'm in this learning of how to harmonize the masculine and feminine, a lot of it has been about, okay, well, I need to create the container for my feminine. And there is so much wisdom in that, in creating the banks to our river and creating all of this. And what the pulse that I'm in now of this wildness and this bigness and so much moving is that, oh, and I, as the feminine, get to carve the banks. Because ultimately there's nothing that can contain spirit. It's vast, 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 beyond, beyond, beyond. And so how can we, as beings here to steward the new earth, as wild humans, allow this life force energy to move through us, and then trust that as we're moving with it, as we're in our dance, as we're in our song, as we're in our flow, in our poetry, in our moans and sounds and orgasm, how can we surrender even more deeply to that flow and trust that that is what will then create the banks to the river? That's what will create the healthy, gentle containment to channel the energy. Because the channeling is important, but the channeling can quickly become caging. And that's what most of us have experienced, the caging of the wild woman, of like, the caging of the shadow masculine, right? Because there is a healthy dark masculine. There's a healthy way to penetrate something in an attuned way. We need that energy, but it becomes this energy of stifling and shutting down when that energy turns to domination. And that's what we've seen on our planet for the past, like, I don't know, thousands of years. And so as we are learning, as we're waking up and learning how to channel our wild feminine, all of us across all genders, this wild feminine energy, which is the life force, the chaos and the thunderstorm, all of it, as we're learning how to channel this, how do we surrender more deeply to it so that we can create a sense of healthy, loving structure that doesn't feel like it is shutting down our feminine? So that's the exploration I'm in, of how we do that. And what I'm finding is to flow like the river, to flow with such a devotion and commitment and trust that the banks to the river begin to form. And then we get to weave, we get to and continue that channel. But if we are trying to create all of this structure before we even allow our wildness to bloom at all, then that simply replicates the structure of patriarchy, that replicates the schooling system, which shuts down our childlike joy and beauty and power. So the invitation for myself and for anyone watching is to invite in more of that wildness, invite in the river flow, let yourself open, and trust that from that opening, the path will present itself of how to channel that energy in a more direct way. I love y'all so much. Thank you for listening to this transmission. If you want to work with me, check out the link below. Let's stay connected. Mwah.